Hey there, everybody. So I'm here right now to talk to you about what we don't roll into in body rolling. So there's a lot of places of the body that you can roll, almost all of it, but the three places that I'm going to talk about, please do not roll in this in my practice. I don't know about in other ball rolling practices, but this is a setup for some long-term pain or some very uncomfortable moments if things don't go as planned. Also, if you have osteoporosis or osteopenia, you need to be aware that your bones are weaker in some spots and know where those are, because I don't want you to be working in that area either. So if it's a specific part on your hip, or maybe it's, I don't know where it would be, somewhere else in your spine, just know that that area is fragile and I don't want you to go in there. We can go around it, to the side of it, but not in it. Okay, so the three places for sure we don't go in, that's three here, not six. The first is the bottom of the breastbone. So the breastbone, the sternum here, has the manubrium at the top, then a longer flat-ish area and called the body. And then the xiphoid process is this tiny bone. So if you trace downward and the bones start to curve in, you can feel that there's sort of this softer, smaller, triangular bone. And that is the xiphoid process. So it's more of an issue for men, because women, we do not want you to be rolling in your breast tissue. You can be rolling in the chest above, and sometimes we move the breast tissue to get into the ribs, but you're not actually rolling in the breast tissue. The next area are the floating ribs, sometimes called the false ribs. They start actually from the back and come forward, and they're the only ribs that don't attach into the breastbone. All the rest of them sort of go around and attach, right? So these floating ribs down here, you can feel them with your fingers and trace downward till you feel these, the ribs sort of just drop off here, okay? So we're not gonna go in there. So it's above, so here's the hip point in the front of the hip. It's a bony point, you can feel it, and you can trace above, you can feel your hip bone there. Then there's some space for waist, I hope. Some of us might get taller with this work. And then right above those are those floating ribs. And this is important because there will be work that we're doing on the side of the back, on the sideline, and maybe even in some of the ribs here. We don't go in there quite as much. But when we go into the psoas, you can feel some of that area. And I want to make sure that you don't actually roll into those floating ribs. I've only had 2 students, but that's enough. One was enough, and the other one was And it's uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable. There's not a lot you can do till it heals. You can do stuff around it for sure, but you won't be wanting to roll anywhere in this area. Then the last part is the tailbone, the coccyx. Just in case you need some anatomy. Here, so if I'm at the top of my hips, there's a triangular bone here. So the hip bones go front to back here, and this triangular bone here is part of the spine. It's the base of the spine, just above the tailbone, below the lower back. That's called the sacrum. It's flat. You can feel it. It's flat. And then right where the crack is, right where your divide starts, if you draw your fingers down there, that's where the tailbone curls in. And the tailbone is a group of bones, really. It's not a tailbone. It's not fused, let's hope. And those can get dislocated, and that's very uncomfortable. I've known some people who've had to sit in those little squishy seat tops with a hole in the middle so that their tailbone doesn't touch anything and is free. If you do hurt your tailbone, there are a couple things we can do. I can teach you how to spread your sit bones a little bit. The sit bones are at the base of the rear end here. You can spread them a little bit, and that will allow you to have more room for your tailbone. So join me for this fabulous activity, and do not get yourself hurt by going into these areas. I will try to remind everybody each time, but I had to make this video so we all knew together. Have a nice day.